Good afternoon. I guess the hour is at hand. And I'm Jenny Longmire, and I direct the Handbell program here at Otterbein. And certainly appreciate your coming this afternoon. This gives us an opportunity to play music that's not necessarily sacred, because we do play in church once a month. But this, of course, enables you to hear our spirituals and folk hymns and different kinds of music. And it can't escape history. I've been around too long. And you might be interested in knowing that our first set of bells was a gift, a memorial gift from our physician, Dr. Peter Mulder and his wife, and that was in 1977. So 25 bells were given to us at that time. Those 25 bells are still there. We are still playing them, even though they're 46 years old. Okay, and I wanted to make sure you understood how we started. So we got a gift of bells. No one really had learned or directed bells. So we worked with local people who were, and Barbara Crouse and myself directed two different groups. Barbara is over here. And Barbara also is a guest ringer with me today, because oftentimes we have a vacancy, and she is one of my favorite subs. So Barbara's going to be a sub for us, as well as a pianist. And while we're talking about that, I do have travelers who come and join our groups. So I want to introduce Laurie Aldridge down here at the end of the, and she comes every Sunday and sings with the choir, but she comes every Tuesday and rings bells. So that's a big help. And my other traveler, let's see. Oh, Trish. Trish, back here. Trish comes from Franklin. And not only does Trish come, but she brings two bells with her from her church, because I needed someone to ring and help a new ringer. And so her choir director agreed to let her do that. So it's been a real godsend that she could ring with us and bring the extra bells. So we have some other people that are helping with the program today. And I have, Mary Lee and Carol are passing out programs, okay? And we have Kevin, George, and John Kinsinger at the console, okay? And we have our music coordinator, Chris Ward, and we have Keith in housekeeping, helps us do all this setup. We need to recognize him. And of course, we do have, as your program indicates, our narrator, Bob. And with that, we will start.
All right, well, you're in for a treat today. The bell choirs, both bell choirs have been working very hard, and they're excited to bring this concert to you today. So the Joyful Ringers is the first choir, and they're going to open our program with a selection, you can read it on your program there, called Bell Ramba. And so if you have a musical background in your background, of course, you listen for the ramba rhythm. It's in there, but you can pick it up then. And this is an original composition written by a man by the name of Roderick Davenport, and it was written especially for the handbells and percussion. And we are very fortunate to have Bob Bounds, the voice and the face of the OLN, and he will be on the percussion today. So listen very carefully for that rhomba rhythm as the bell choir presents Bell Rhomba. This next selection, very little introduction. You have grown up singing this, I'm sure that you have, When the Saints Go Marching In. It was written in the early 1900s, and it was an amalgamation of several gospel tunes, and is often played at funerals to indicate the deceased will be marching towards heaven. And there's a variety of lyrics that are often sung. Probably the most famous is, "Oh, when the saints go marching in." But there's also, "Oh, when the trumpet sounds its call." "Oh, when the drums begin to bang." And "Oh, when the stars fall from the sky." And so now we're going to hear the handbell version of "Oh, when the saints go marching in." We're now going to travel with the Joyful Ringers by way of the railroad. And we're going to start with the American folk song, I've Been Working on the Railroad. It was originally titled Old Joe, okay? Or Someone's in the House with Dinah. Maybe you've heard those phrases before. Dinah was a generic name for a slave woman. Here's a version seldom heard. I've been living in a boxcar. I'm a hobo man. I've been living in the boxcar, which the yard bulls won't allow. Brother, can you spare a quarter? Buy me something good to eat. Brother, can you spare me a nickel till I'm back on my feet? And so Bob Bounds on his feet and actually sitting down over there will provide the percussion, a company for I've Been Working on the Railroad. Okay, we're going to continue our railroad journey with the spiritual that was first published in 1872. That's a long time ago. Kent, that's even before you were born. Oh, there you go. Get on board, little children is the name of our selection now. And the lyrics read something like this. Now the gospel train's at hand, be on time, be on time. Now the gospel train's at hand, crowds at the station stand with passports in their hand to start for Zion's land. So be on time, and we're going to be hearing handbells and hand chimes in this selection then. Get all aboard. Next station stop, heaven. Calling all children, get on board. Get on board. Now, a mallet is a light hammer with a small, rounded, padded head, and it's used for playing certain keyboard instruments, such as the marimba, xylophone, vibraharp, glockenspiel. You know what a glockenspiel is, don't you? Sure. And certain types of drums. Bob's got his drums and some mallets over there then. In sports, a mallet is used for hitting a ball, such as in croquet and polo. So in recent years, mallets were designed for playing handbells. And the larger the bell, the larger and the softer the mallet. So Trish, would you hold up your bell and ring that for us? And then would you take your mallet and give it a good thunk? Okay. But if the mallet is laying on the table, give it a good thunk, Trish. Hear the difference? Listen for that difference as they play their selection then. You'll notice that a large head is made of yarn. A smaller, harder head is used for the high-pitched bells. So Barb, would you hold up your bell and ring it? There you go. And would you hit it with the mallet? And now lay the bell down on the table and hit that with the mallet. You hear the difference? So listen for the difference throughout this selection. And appropriately, this is called mallet madness. Nice applause. And while they are changing positions here and changing places for the next choir to come up, you are invited to sing "I've Been Working on the Railroad." And Barb will accompany us here on the piano, and the words are on the back of your program then. So I've been working on the railroad. Want to hear it nice and loud. Yourself a hand. All right.
Oh, you sounded great. So we've been doing our transportation by way of the railroad, and now we have the chapel bell ringers in front of us. The other group had two members I introduced who travel from off campus. This group also has two members who come every week from off campus. And at the end here, Carolyn Kemper from Lebanon, but she's had a connection with Otterbein a long time. Her father lived here, and she was my secretary when we were in the admissions office. So we appreciate her coming. And Elaine Gill, way back here, she just joined us this year, and appreciate her playing with us, and her mother lives in Aurora. So it's nice to have these off-campus people join us for this. Now, you probably didn't notice, but there were 4 people up here in the first group that did not have a chance to come and sit down because they ring in both groups. And they do double duty for me. If they didn't do that, we probably could not have a second bell choir. So we're going to introduce them. Phyllis Crouse, way back here. Okay. Chris Ward. Okay. Shirley Crouse. Okay. And Barbara Patterson. I'm going to talk a little bit about Barbara because she's been ringing bells with me for 18 years. And Barbara is our glove lady. Every ringer has a pair of rehearsal gloves, a pair of performance gloves, and she launders them, she mends them, she puts their name in them. When we have a new ringer, she makes sure they get the right size. So, and our handbell gloves, you just don't go out to Walmart and buy gloves. You have to order them because they have small plastic dots in the fabric, in the palm, so that the bell will not slip whenever they pick it up and so forth. So our glove is very, very important, and she helps us a lot with that. Speaking of equipment, notebooks. We can't go to Staples and buy our notebooks because, do you notice? They have to bend in order to sit up on the stand. And then inside that notebook, each ringer has a sheet music of their own. And each piece of sheet music costs at least $3.95 and goes all the way up to $4.95. And I have to order 15. So you do the math. You can see that keeping them supplied with music is also a big thing. I also want to point out, we said we got our first 25 set back in 1977. Today, in front of us, we have 80 bells. And let me explain. I soon discovered when I direct seniors, and that was before I was a senior, that they travel, they have doctor's appointments, they become ill suddenly, and so I ordered and purchased extra bells so that we would have 2 people on many of the bell parts, so that if one has to be away, we're not out here hanging high and dry. So that has been a big expense over the years. Now, the other thing I do want to understand, in order for us to still have those 25 bells playing, every 5 to 7 years, we take all 80 bells to the Schulmerich representative, and they look at each bell, replace parts that might be worn, and they professionally polish them. So that is a very important part of keeping them in shape. And by the way, that costs $2,400 every time we do that. So this is not a cheap activity. And I want you to understand that the Otterbein Community Church supports this. Thank you, Tom, for your support financially. And we do have a music endowment fund that also helps support this. So our Handbell program is very, very, is one of my joys to be able to direct them. And I started with them back in 1977, and we're still doing it. And these ringers are just wonderful. They are very faithful, they're dedicated, and they help each other out, and they come and ring whenever they need it. And so I just feel such a joy that I have the privilege of working with them. And will the joyful ringers stand up? All of you, the joyful ringers, the chapel ringers are already up here, and join me in thanking them for all of their efforts. Okay. And Bob, let's go on.
Okay, Jenny. Well, the Chapel Bell Ringers are going to open their program this afternoon with a selection entitled A Joyous Ronda, arranged by Michael Hellman. A rondo is a musical form that begins with a principal theme and then alternates with contrasting melodies. So the earliest rondo form was found back in Italian operas in the 17th century. So old music, but current music. So a joyous ronda. Well, the next selection is Give My Regards to Broadway. Got to have a musical from Broadway here. This is great. And it was written by George M. Cohan in 1904. And the title, Give My Regards to Broadway, has appeared in the musical entitled Little Johnny Jones. And then it's been performed by many artists, and one of which was James Cagney's song and dance routine in Yankee Doodle Dandy. So here is the Chapel Bell Ringers, and Give My Regards to Broadway. Hannah Laura Page has arranged a spiritual entitled Somebody's Knocking at Your Door. And of course, this is a special arrangement just for our handbells today. The lyrics are often improvised, including, "Oh sinner, why don't you answer? Knocks just like Jesus, can't you hear him?" And finally, "Jesus calls you, can't you trust him?" So the chapel bell ringers and Somebody's Knocking at Your Door. Well, we've included a second spiritual in our program this afternoon, and it's entitled Climbing Up the Mountain. The chorus words read, "I'm climbing up the mountain, children. I didn't come here for to stay. And if I never more see you again, I'm going to meet you on the judgment day." A more familiar verse is, "Old Moses went down to Egypt land. He told old Pharaoh that the good Lord on his heavenly throne said, 'Let my people go.'" So now we're going to hear from the bell choir, "Climbing Up the Mountain." So we conclude our program with an arrangement this afternoon of The Heavens Are Telling. And these are going to feature the handbells, the hand chimes, and Barbara Crouse will be accompanying us on the piano. It was written in 1798, a long time ago, by Haydn for his oratorio, The Creation. And the reference there is made to Psalm 19, which in part has some familiar lines for you. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the earth shows his handiwork. And finally, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. Thank you for coming. You have a great afternoon, and stop up here and shake hands with one of these bell ringers.
We have a token of our appreciation and thanks for Jenny for all she does all year, planning everything and putting up with us.
Yeah, that's right.